Welcome to the Windows Computer and Technology channel, and I've had a question, which is an interesting question. I've done my tech guy duties for 15 years before I stopped, and one of the questions that came up today was, what does a good tech guy do or not do to your computer when you actually, have him over to check out your PC and fix it if there's problems? What are the signs of, a bad tech guy and so on? Well, first of all, a tech guy will, and that is something that you should not be frustrated about, not necessarily believe what you say, for many reasons. A tech guy, first of all, will want to check your PC on his own, will check the error messages and the things that are happening himself, and will, of course, also want to check out stuff by himself for another reason. A lot of people have a hard time explaining what exactly the problem is. So the first thing that a tech guy needs to see is the problem itself. So if a tech guy comes over, doesn't see anything wrong, the first thing a tech guy should do and should be when that happens is, I don't see anything wrong. I have to see the problem. You have to call me when the problem's there. Because without seeing the problem, it's like going to the doctor when you're not sick, but you were sick a month before. He doesn't know what happened and why you were sick and what caused the problem, because you're not sick anymore. It's the same thing with a computer. So that's the first thing. You might look around, that's for sure, because there are signs and there are things that you can see when you start going around, looking at the different trouble, event viewers and stuff like that. But overall, if the computer behaves well and there doesn't seem to be anything wrong, usually the first thing that you want to do is, okay, I need to see what happened. I need to see how it's happening, because without any clue, you can't fix anything. The other thing is, a good tech guy will not say, oh, well, it's Windows, it's always crashing, it's normal. A tech guy that says that, you should just tell him that you'll need another tech guy, because that's not the case. Windows does not crash all the time. If it crashes all the time, you have a problem. It could be a driver problem, hardware problem, other types of problem with software that's installed. But nope, there aren't. It's not true that Windows crashes all the time. When I see posts of, it's crashing all the time on my PC, I like to see what you're doing with your PC, because honestly, it doesn't. And it is something that you also never really, when I see it, there's a lot of comments when I see them. It's like, yeah, my tech side, my tech guy side says, yeah, I'd like to see what you do with your PC. Because, nope, 99% of the time, Windows crashing is done because of something wrong on the PC itself. And rarely is a Windows issue. It's not zero possibility, but it's a very small possibility. Windows is extremely solid and runs really well. There's a sequence of events that happens when it crashes all the time. So if it crashes all the time and your tech guy says, oh, it's normal, it's Windows, your tech guy's no good. The other thing also is that your tech guy should, take a look at the general hardware quickly. Either just within Windows, look at the device manager and so on and see what's in there. Make sure that things are up to date is important if something happens. But a good tech guy, like I said, will, at the most extreme, say, well, we've got to reinstall Windows. A bad tech guy will want to install CCleaner, will want you to install all sorts of cleaners or optimizers. Any tech guy that does that, that's not a good tech guy. There aren't any need for optimizers, cleaners of any kind in Windows. There never been, really. It's a market that has been created over the fact that people, some people had problems because they purchased PCs that had too little RAM memory, for example, and things like that. All of these cleaners and optimizers are totally useless. It's a market that is there to try to lure you into thinking that, oh, Windows is bad, and here we have the software that fixes it. Nope, that doesn't work like that. The other thing about a tech guy is that he won't want you to buy hardware for nothing. And that is more of a tough side, because hardware is something that can, yes, be very important. So a tech guy might suggest something that is truly important that you need to understand. But there's not a lot of things in hardware that you'll need to change in general. One of the most common changes, what hardware the tech guy is going to suggest, it could be for RAM memory. That is probably the number one thing that I suggested over the years, because people purchase PCs that were just too bare minimum. And what happened is that that bare minimum was not enough. So a slow PC became a fast PC with a simple thing, adding RAM memory. And for that, I did demonstrations. What I did is I would add RAM. If they weren't sure, if they thought, and maybe I was trying to screw them over, or sell them something that they don't need, I would actually add RAM, have them use their PC for 5 or 10 minutes and say, so. And then they would just say, wow, it's so much faster. And say, yep, that's because you need more RAM. And then they were convinced. So I would do things like that to show them that, I'm not trying to just sell stuff. I am just trying to help you. And that a good tech guy will be like that. Not try to sell you stuff that's useless. And of course, there are a few things they could do. If you have an old magnetic hard drive, they might say, well, an SSD drive could make your PC faster. Indeed, it would make your PC faster, especially if it's a few years old. Things like that would be, yes. It might be a hardware failure. In the case of a hardware failure, then you might say, well, there's something wrong with your motherboard or whatever, and that's another aspect of things. But a good tech guy will never blame Windows. A good tech guy will not sell you any software and not sell you any antivirus that you don't need. If they are in that category, your tech guy is not a good tech guy, and you should move away from that tech guy. Also, if the tech guy always blames Microsoft for everything that happens in your PC, he's not a good tech guy. The majority of problems in a PC are changes in a PC, and I will say, yes, Windows sometimes changes defaults. It can happen, absolutely. So it's not always, but very often it's user created much more than anything else. If you change, if you change a tech guy, just try to find somebody that's well established for a long time, or maybe that a friend uses and really trusts, and see what happens. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Thank you for watching.